Hello and welcome to part 2 of this Kaleidocycle tutorial. So hopefully if you are watching this you've already seen part 1 and have 4 lots of 6 triangles ready to go, and the last of those 4 groups with a thread attached ready to sew it all together. So what we're going to do to start off with is finish off our triangle. So we need to add one more row around the outside, which is then going to be what we use to attach the other triangles on. Now for your first prism, your first one of these, it doesn't really matter what order you attach the triangles in, but it will become a little bit more important later on. So in order to attach your triangles together, first thing I'm going to need to do is just to do one more row all the way around. Now, this is exactly the same as we did the other rows for our triangles, with one exception. At the point of our triangle, instead of adding 2 beads here, we're just going to add 1, which is going to give it more of a finished triangle shape. Alright, so there's our row around the outside done. Now, we're going to add on our next triangle. Now, I'm going to start using this one here because I'm actually going to use 2 different colours when I'm constructing my Kaleidocycle. I'm going to use this transparent grey here, which is on the outside of these 2 styles of triangles, and I'm also going to use this metallic blue purple colour as well, which is on the outside of my other 2 types of triangles, this one and this one. And what that's going to mean is when I make the hinges, which are these bits here which join my prisms together, I'm going to do them in each of those 2 different colours so they sort of blend in to match the triangles next to them a bit better. I've done that with this one here too, which is a little bit hard to see because of the colours, but if you look closely, this one here is a kind of pale bluey colour, and then this one here is more of a turquoise greeny colour, which matches this style of triangle and this one here on the other side. So that means that when I'm cutting my triangles, I want 2 on opposite sides which share one colour, and 2 on the other side that share this other colour. But in practice, all it's going to mean for me while I'm making my first triangle is just I need to join these 2 first, then the other 2 colours on the other side. So, to join your triangles together, all you're going to need to do is that row you just threaded on should fit nice and neatly in between the rows of the previous triangles. So, I'm coming out of this bead here next to the first bead I added on, and I'm going to go back down through this point bead that's closest to that row. drop it like that though. That's alright. Okay. So now I have my thread going from this triangle here back down to this first top bead of this triangle here. Now I'm going to go back over to my first triangle and thread through one of those beads we just added, the first one in our row, and pull it tight. Now as soon as you do that, you should see these just instantly sort of click together and form that peyote stitch pattern, at which point you just continue on doing exactly the same thing. So one bead from this triangle, then one bead from this triangle. So I've come out of this triangle, which means I need to find the next bead on this one, which is going to be this one here, and sew down there. Then one from this triangle here. Right, now next one is this one. Then back to my first triangle again. Then back to my second triangle. Then back to my first one again. Then back to the second one. And back to the first one. And lastly back to the second triangle again. So I'm now coming out of this one here, and I'm ready to start adding on my next row. Now I need to add one more row of beads here, because you can see this side here has the extra row beads we've already added, but this one here does not, and we need to have that row on there before we can add our next triangle in. So to start off with, at my point, I'm going to add in my extra bead there, and then just sew down the rest of this row, adding in one bead in each spot. Alright, now coming out of this spot here again, I'm going to start adding in my next piece. So exactly the same as last time, I'm just going to go coming out of my triangle here and into the first bead of this triangle here. Then back to my original triangle, into one of those beads we just added, back to my new triangle, back to the first one again, back to my new triangle, and back to the first one. And here we are. So that is the first three pieces of your triangular prism, and we're then gonna lastly just sew up down that side there. Now this point here, I am also going to need to add a bead on just to finish off that triangle too. So I've just added on that point there. And now I'm just going to join this side up here the same as we just did. Alright, now at this point we need to start thinking about where our hinges are going to go to add on to the rest of our prisms. So essentially what's going to happen is they're going to be attached on opposite sides of the prism to each other. So I'm going to want to attach one here on that very first row we added, and on the opposite side of the prism from that over here, which we're going to do in a minute when we add in our last triangle. So now because this is our different edge colour, I'm going to use our second colour here. I'm going to add in my point first, and then just stitch all the way down. Alright, I'm just going to add in my point bead up the top here, and then I'm just going to go back under and back up through that bead we just came out of. Now I'm ready to add in my last triangle, so I'm just going to grab that one up. Now to start off with, we join this one on exactly the same way as we did the other pieces, and then I'm going to go back and add in the first part of the hinge. So I'm just going to go counting out of this triangle, so I need to go in the top bead of this one here, and then back for the first bead over there. I'm going to do two at once this time. Keeps it more stable when you're pulling the thread through. Alright, so I'm coming out of that row we just added, so I need to go back to my new triangle, pull through, then back over to the other side, Alright, so here we are, and I'm ready to now start adding the first part of my hinge on. Now I'm actually going to add in this point here that goes between those two beads just while I'm coming out of that bead there anyway, just to make things easier for me later on rather than have to go back and add it in then. And then I'm going to go back out that top again. So we make our hinge in two parts. Okay, so the hinge is actually made of, if I can get that to focus, that's okay, is made out of 3 rows. We have this row there, which I attach directly onto the prism as I'm making it, and then the second 2 rows add on to the prism that's being joined. So there's basically a base row that's attached to the prism itself, and then the row in the middle, which is the part that bends, essentially, which is what joins it together. Yeah, it's a bit easier to see there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add on that first base row there, ready for us to add in the second part of our hinge later when we have the rest of our prisms ready to join. So to make that base row, I'm just going to go back in through this top bead on the other side and through the first bead of the extra row that we added on to join that prism together. Now here, all I am basically going to do now is to add another row of peyote, but I'm going to do it through those additional beads we just added on. So I'm coming out of this bead here at the moment, and my new bead's going to go in that gap there between those two, and I'm going to go sew through that second bead of that extra row. Which will give us something that looks a little bit like this. And next we're going to do the same thing again, so my bead's going to go in between those two there, and I'm going to go sew through that next row of my row I added to join these triangles together. I'm just going to keep doing that all the way down until the end. So just looking for that middle bead again, which is from that row that we added in, and adding our bead on. Then once again through that middle bead and pulling through. Then hopefully if you're doing a 6-row triangular, you should have 4 beads in the middle there, and that's going to be the first part of our hinge. Now once done that, I'm going to go back on to joining up the rest of these, and then I'm going to add in my second hinge, part of the hinge here. So it's basically, the way I kind of see it, visualize it, is we have half on opposite sides of the triangle. If you find it a little bit difficult to see, you can find paper version of these online. I would recommend making one up of those yourself and having played around with it until you can kind of see the pattern. Right, so where was I? Right, coming out of this one here, I'm going to go through there. I'm going to, let me see, right, I'm going to add in the point there and add in my extra row before I can come back and sew the rest of it in. And just add in my point. There we go. Alright, so now I'm going to start joining it on to this row here, which already has our extra row from earlier. So I'm coming out of this second bead here, which means you need to go straight in and pick up the first bead over there. Then back over to my other triangle. So basically exactly the same way we did the other ones. Just thread through alternating beads. Until I come back out that top one there. There we go. Now, I'm actually going to have to now go back up this bit to get up to the next bit I need to do because I miscalculated when I was drawing my triangles, but that's fine. I've got more than enough thread left. So I'm just going to thread all the way back up to here. Alright, back up to the top. And I'm going to go back up through that blue-green bead there. Now I'm actually going to stop and go down here and add in my hinge again. So I'm going to go through, I'm currently coming out of this bead here, I'm going to go back down through that one there. Then I'm going to go back up through this one here again. And then down through this one here. Alright, now I can begin adding in my hinge row. If my needle just comes out in the right spot there. There we go. Alright, same again, I'm coming out of that middle bead from the row that we added. My bead's going to go in that gap between those two beads there. Then back up through that middle bead again. Back through that middle bead again. And last one. There we go. So now I have my 4 beads there for my hinge, and I've also got 4 on that side there. Right, now, once again, I haven't planned this very well and I've ended up on the wrong side again, so I'm just going to thread my way back through until I get back over here to do my final row. Alright, so back up the top again, and I'm just going to add in a bead there to finish my point. Alright, so now I just finished this last row, coming out of that bead there. I need to pick up one from the other side, from that row that we added in. And then back over to the other side again. Alright, one last point to add in there, and our first prism is done. Now to finish this off, you can either just thread through a few beads and tie a knot, or you can go back into the middle and go around a circle a few times, which is usually my preferred option, which is what I'm going to do. Yeah. you just want to go around another 2 or 3 times here, and that will keep your thread nice and secure. And there we go. That is the first prism done. Now, the rest of the prisms we're going to make pretty much exactly the same way, with one slight difference. We will need to check slightly the placement of our triangles as we make them, just to make sure when we fold it, it's going to be folding so they all show the same way. So I'll show you one more example showing you how to do that, and then the rest is just repeating that another 6 times till you have all of your prisms done. Alright, so here's my next one with my thread attached to it already. Alright, let's start going on at number 2. So exactly the same way, I'm going to do that row around the outside, ready to make our start. Alright, so there's my row done. Now I can start off exactly the same way, adding in my next piece just like we did before. Alright, I'm just going to add in my point here. Now, this time I'm actually going to go back and make my hinge now and join it onto our first prism to show you how to do that. So, I'm going to go back up, not through 2 beads, just through that one there. Hopefully this isn't going out of focus too much. There we go. And back through that top one there. Now, the second part of our hinge, where we attach it to this one, is going to start off exactly the same as we did the first one. So the first thing we need to do is add in that row of 4 beads using that middle row we added on. So my next bead is going to go in that gap there, and you can go through that middle one. Alright, so I've now come back out that bead there with my row of 4 here. So my next thing I'm going to do is to add in that third row of the hinge. So that middle row there. So I'm going to need to go back through my beads until I'm coming out this one here, that first bead in my hinge. So I'm going to do that just by going out that last one there, out that one there, and then back through that one there. And then back up that first bead in the middle row again. Then that first bead of my hinge. Alright, so now I'm just going to treat this like any other peyote row. I just had one bead in the middle of each of those hinge beads there. Alright, so there we go. Now comes the fun part where we add it together. So the way to make sure that your pieces are going to fold the right way is when you're doing the hinge, the same designs need to be touching each other. So I've got 2 with that blue bit in the middle. I'm going to fold them so they're touching each other and then work on the hinge like this. So alternatively, if I flip around the other way, those 2 same designs there are also going to be touching each other. So here's the bead I've come out of here, and there's my second row of the hinge. First thing I'm going to do is pick up a bead and go back through part 1 of my hinge there. Then I'm going to go back through that second part of the hinge that we just added on, the same as when we were attaching the triangles. Then back through the first part of the hinge, and the second again, back through the first part, back through the second part again, and back through the first part. So by now you should have your stitching like this. I'm just going to pull it tight, and you should have something looking a little bit like this. Next I'm going to pick up one more bead again to finish off this end, and I'm going to go back through those beads again just to strengthen it a little bit more. Alright, so now I'm just going to go back over to the prism I was working on and continue adding in my triangles. Maybe it's getting a little bit tricky to get through now because they're quite full of thread. Maybe some pliers to give me some extra grip. Just be careful of using pliers because sometimes you can pull too hard and break a bead without realising. Right. So I want to get back over to here so I can add in my next row of beads to add in my next triangle. So I'm just going to start off by adding my beads here, and then I'm going to sort out which triangle needs to go next. Alright, so now the next triangle I'm going to add on is going to fill that gap there, and I want that triangle to match the one here. So if I fold them over, they would be touching, which is this design here, which means I'm going to want to add this one on. So we just add them on now exactly the same way we did the first time round. Alright, so now I've joined in one side of that triangle. That one's already got my row familiar, so I can just keep going straight down. I'm just going to add in the tip of that point there. On here. And then continuing on the same way as before. And I'm left here. Now I've only got one triangle left, so this one's going to have to go there and just double check those match. So there we go. Okay, I'm just going to add in my extra rows here and then we'll start attaching this on. then we can start adding our last triangle on. Here we go. So same as before, coming out of here, first bead on this one. Alright, I'm actually going to add in my hinge here now as well. So, back up through there. And I'm going to add in the first part of the hinge, exactly the same way we've done before. Find that middle row that we just added on, and then add in our 4 beads of our extra row of peyote. Alright, now because I'm actually going to go back all the way over here anyway to finish off this row, I'm actually going to add in the second row, of my hinge now, because I may as well. Save me from doing it later since I'm here at this part of my beading anyway. So I'm just going to go reverse direction, the same way I did before. Alright, so I'm just adding in those 3 beads now, which means that when I come to do my next hinge, I'll just be skipping a step of adding those beads in first and go straight to join the 2 halves together. Alright, now I just need to get back over to this bead here, ready to sew off my last row. Alright, just adding in my last bead again, and that's finished my first section. I just need to tie off my thread. So I have one hinge connecting down the middle, and I have my rows on either side ready for the next one. So let me just go back through and tie off my threads. So there we go, and the rest of our pieces we just need to assemble and make up exactly the same way. So I'm not going to talk through the instructions for the rest of it, but I'll put the video up on here anyway as a time lapse so you can pause it if you need to at any point and follow along.
the city, baby. And us in Texacles. You wanna try, baby. I know you can, I know your heart, and you will figure out you love me now, 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 love you now. I gotta leave you, love me now, 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 love you now. Gotta leave. Figure out you love me now, 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 love you now. I gotta leave you, love me now, 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 love you now. Gotta leave. You baby, city, baby. And us in Texas, you wanna try, baby. I know you can, I know your heart, and you will figure out you love me now, 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 now. Love you now. I gotta leave you, love me now, 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 now. Love you now. Gotta leave. Figure out you love me now, 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 now. Love you now. I gotta leave you, love me now, 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 now. Love you now. Gotta leave. You wavy on me. You wavy on me. the city, baby. And us in Texaco's. You wanna try, baby. I know you can, I know your heart, and you will figure out you love me now, 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 you know I gotta leave. You love me now, 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 you know I gotta leave. Figure out you love me now, 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 you know I gotta leave. You love me now, 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 you know I gotta leave. You it, baby. And us in tentacles. You wanna try, baby. I know you can, I know your heart, and you will figure out you love me now, 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 you know I gotta leave. You love me now, 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 you know I gotta leave. Figure out you love me now, 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 you know I gotta leave. You love me now, 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 you know I gotta leave.
Alright, and that's our Kaleidocycle finished. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them below. Thanks, bye!